Welcome to r/Pettyrevenge, where OP gleefully steals someone's donuts. This happened a couple years ago. It had snowed a bunch, and so I went out to clear a spot for my boyfriend at the time for when he got home from work. He's a police officer. I spent a while digging it out, and as I was finishing up, some girl drove up and parked in it while I was still shoveling it. I told her that I had just dug it out, intending to use it, and asked her to move, and she didn't. She then got out of her car and walked away. Turns out she lived 2 buildings down, so she wouldn't normally park there anyways. Our complex had a mini snowplow, and the dude was plowing in the area and saw this all go down. He helped me move all the snow from the pile he just created and put it all around her car. We buried it up to the door handles on all sides. He then dug out a new spot for me. I saw her later trying to dig out her car. Turns out she didn't have a shovel. So naturally, because I'm petty, I went out and reshoveled the sidewalk from the lot up to our building and threw all of the snow on her vehicle while I did it. Then went inside and took my shovel with me. I don't understand why people steal other people's parking spaces right in front of them and then walk away all smug like they've won. Because then you've just pissed off someone and showed them your unattended car. Is that how you want your car to get keyed? Because that's how you get your car keyed. Or worse, your tire slashed, your rearview windows broken off. There's so much an angry person can do to an unattended car, so why risk it? It makes no sense to me. And then we have a similar post from SloppyMoses. This may be the pettiest thing I have ever done. So in my city, there is a pub that's attached to a donut shop that serves the best donuts in the city, which always causes a long line. Because it's attached to a pub, it doesn't close shop until 9 p.m. as there is a solid flow of business rolling in. Anyway, my girlfriend and I get a serious hankering for some snacks, so we decide to head to the donut shop and arrive at around 8:30 p.m. by car. Now, there are only 3 parallel parking spots a little up the street from the place, and they are all 15-minute spots which are usually full. We see up the street that, count our lucky stars, a spot is free. My girlfriend pulls a little ahead of the car in front of the spot, turns on her indicator, and begins backing into the parking spot, when this little white Vespa driving behind us whips into the spot. I roll down our window and call out the driver. "Excuse me, we were just backing in." The driver seems to be a pretty university student who shrugs her shoulders and calls out to me, "Sorry, first come, first served," while her and her friend share a good laugh. My girlfriend suggests we just get donuts another time, and I tell her she can drop me off here. I'll buy the donut since I know what she likes and she can loop around. She agrees, and I pop out of the car, past the little white Vespa where the girls are still gathering their things, and head to the shop. As always, the line is super long for donuts, and since this is the last batch, the donuts are slim pickings. The girls are behind me looking at the 5 or so different flavors that are left, talking about which ones are the best and which they haven't had yet. I hear one of them jokingly mention, "Thank God we got a parking spot," and they burst out laughing. I get to the front of the line and when asked for my order, request 2 dozen donuts, which is every last one remaining. The girls behind me didn't listen to what I ordered, but eyebrows of confusion started to form on their faces, and they slowly saw each donut loaded into the boxes and their options dwindle. One of them, the driver, in desperation asked the baker who was loading them in, "What, you're not even gonna save a few for us though?" To which I turned around and said, "Sorry, first come, first serve." She honestly looked like she simultaneously solved a movie mystery and messed her pants. It's difficult to put into words, but truly an expression I can never forget. Best donuts I ever tasted, and enjoyed by the rest of my office the next morning. Yeah, never mind. Forget what I said about keying the car or kicking off the rearview mirrors. Stealing their donuts and eating them in front of them while they regret their life choices is a way better route for revenge. Then we have this contribution from GT Shelby down in the comments. I had a woman steal my parking spot that I had been waiting patiently for at work once. She zipped in even though it was obvious I was waiting there, turned signal on for the spot to be free. The lady in the spot finally pulls out and turns towards me so I can't pull into it quickly. And the jerk pulled into it. I could see her laughing as she did so. F it, I'll find another spot, and finally did so. A few minutes later, I'm in my store and get called to the return desk for a customer complaint. A lady was pissed we wouldn't do a return for an item without a receipt. There's a limit of 3 in 6 months, and she was past it, and wanted a manager to make an exception. I get to the desk, and lo and behold, guess who it was? Parking spot thief. I put on my best retail smile and politely told her not only no, but F no. When she started to raise heck, I told her to leave or be banned from the store. She skulked out. My desk associates told me she was notorious for being a returnaholic, and that LP was already investigating her for fraud. Our next Reddit post is from Turtle Shoes. On mobile, forgive my text wall. This happened to me last night. I got in my car to pick up my girlfriend and my tire pressure light came on. I have a 12-volt air compressor in my back seat, but it's loud and fills sort of slowly, so I opted to drive to the local Wawa. For those who don't have Wawa, it's like if 7-Eleven got sober and went to college. Wawa's air pumps are free to use, which usually means there are at least a few cars lined up. But when I pulled in, there was only one other car. Score. I pulled behind the guy filling his tires, and an older gentleman in a BMW pulled in behind me. After about 3 minutes, a woman in a brand new Lexus pulls up directly next to me and puts her window down. "I only have to fill one tire. Do you mind if I go in front of you?" she asked. I said, "Actually, I do. We've been waiting here for a little bit. Sorry." She muttered something while rolling her window up, and I put up mine. About a minute later, the guy at the pump was done. He backs up, and before I can even put my car in gear, Lexus woman pulls her car in front of mine diagonally, blocking me from pulling into the spot, and then pulls straight in after the first guy's moved. She climbs out of her car and gives me the most infuriating little wave. At this point, my anger gives way to a ninja-like calm, and I know exactly what must be done. I pull my car forward and stop about 6 inches from her rear bumper. The air pump is in the corner of the lot, so Lexus woman has a curb in front of her, a curb to her right, where the pump is, and now my dirty car right behind her brand new one. She's busy filling her tire and doesn't notice that I've pulled right up to her car. I step out of my car, grab my air compressor from the back seat, and start setting it up to fill my tire. Mr. BMW, who has remained completely still and silent, sees what I'm doing and asks if I can fill his tires too. I say, of course, and motion for him to park in the empty spot to Lexus lady's left. As soon as he pulls in, she notices what's happening and starts yelling. I flip on my air compressor and begin filling my tire. Her cries drowned out by the sound of 250 psi of justice. She comes and stands in front of me, face beet red and little flecks of spittle popping out from between her cigarette teeth as she calls me all sorts of names. I calmly say, "Ma'am, I only have one tire to fill. You don't mind, do you?" Mr. BMW is absolutely loving this. And as I finish my tire and move to fill his, she starts up again. "You mother effers, effing piece of doo-doo buttholes," etc. I finish Mr. BMW's tire and he thanks me for my help, climbs in his car, and pulls away grinning. I wrap my compressor up nicely, pick a good song, and set my climate control to a balmy 82 degrees. All while Lexus lady is trapped in front of me. I calmly back up, give her a little wave, and drive off into the night. OP, honestly, I don't know how you resisted the urge to go to the bathroom and grab a quick snack from Wawa. Our next Reddit post is from, "Can ducks give STDs?" Good question, OP. So I'm married to a wonderful woman. She's smart, funny, and very kind. Her mother is generally very nice and tends to have a great attitude and be very enjoyable. A bit of a prude, but generally enjoyable. However, can be a bit of a major snoop. If my wife leaves her phone sitting around, she'll just pick it up and start going through it. My wife has kind of laughed this off as a remnant of her mom being controlling when she was a kid. I'm not a fan of this because my wife and I will sometimes text about things that simply don't involve her mother, and I don't feel are her business at all. So over Christmas, I saw my wife set her phone down on the kitchen counter, and I had a brilliant idea. Her mom was still in the kitchen, and I sent my wife the most sexually depraved text about all the things I was going to do to her when everyone left. Honestly, most of them are things we haven't even done, but I had to make it extra scarring. I sent this text from the bathroom, and maybe it was my imagination, but I could swear I could hear an audible gasp shortly after her phone went off. When I went out, her mother absolutely would not look me in the eye. Then, not so discreetly asked her daughter to come talk to her in the other room. When my wife came back into the living room, I thought she had been crying. However, upon closer inspection, she was laughing. Her mother had questioned her about me abusing her during passionate hugging, and if I always talked down to her like that. My wife had told her kindly that what we do is between us and us only. Probably the best gift this Christmas. Did anyone else think that he was going to send his wife a dick pic? because as entertaining as this post already is, that would have been a much better story. Our next Reddit post is from Tens Anyone. This happened years ago, but still makes me smile. I started working in a corporate office in a secretarial position for my first job after college. There were two older ladies who were also secretaries working in the office. One of them was just fine, but I spent most of my time sitting beside and working with Agnes. Agnes was quickly approaching retirement age, but wasn't going anywhere without a big push. This was in the days where we just started getting computers, and she was absolutely hopeless. She'd pull stuff like, "I can't answer the phone, I'm on the computer." Multitasking was not in this woman's repertoire. She was super fussy and annoying. If I came back from lunch 5 minutes late, she would loudly exclaim, "OMG, there you are. I was wondering what had happened to you," making sure the whole office knew I was late. Meanwhile, she was usually late coming in the morning, and often left early for various appointments. If I made a typo in a document, she would make sure the rest of the staff knew about it, loudly. She tended to pout when things didn't go her way, and she would, quote, quit her job when someone pissed her off, and then my boss's boss would talk her into staying. I'd heard about this tactic of hers, and one day our boss did something that annoyed her and she quit again. My boss's boss was away that day, so I had my chance. I quickly advertised and planned a big retirement party for her. It was a done deal by the end of the day. People were dropping by and congratulating her, and everyone looked forward to the party. At that point, I guess she figured it was too late to pull her usual shenanigans, and she actually retired. I told my boss to not bother replacing her because it was freaking easy to cover the little work she actually accomplished every day. This is kind of an old meme, but in this case, the cake is literally a lie. That was r/Pettyrevenge, and this is the first time I've covered this subreddit, so let me know down in the comments if you want to see more petty revenge.